Hello everyone, this is Bible Bears, and today we're going to talk about end times prophecy, and I'm going to discuss the one event that I feel everyone should be looking out for. If this occurs, as Jesus and other prophets predicted, then you had better get off the fence and start praising Jesus. Before I dig into it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you're nice, we would love to hear your comments. Disclaimer up front, I'm not a theologian or an expert on Christian eschatology. But I'm going to present to you what the Bible and most theologians agree are end-time events. With the spread of COVID-19, many worried souls are wondering if this pandemic is a harbinger of more bad things to come. It is a fair question to ask. Every time disaster strikes, there is no shortage of pastors, priests, rabbis, and theologians suggesting that the event may have been foretold in the Bible. Is the Holocaust in the Bible? Is Chernobyl in the Bible? Is 9/11 and Katrina in the Bible? Is Obama the Antichrist? Is the corona pandemic one of the plagues about which Jesus spoke? Americans are looking for signs of the end times because, let's be honest, life on earth is predicted to become increasingly more difficult prior to Christ's return. During Jesus' Olivet Discourse, he spoke of things to come. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will also be famines. And when will all this occur? No one knows but the Father. But of that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father alone. Americans evidently are keen to believe that Christ's return is imminent. A 2010 Pew Research survey revealed that 23% of Americans believe that Jesus will definitely return by the year 2050, and another 18% feel that he probably will return. Here are a few signs of which we need to pay attention. Earthquakes and other natural disasters. Whenever there is an earthquake, you will inevitably hear a religious leader ringing the bell that the end is near. Armageddon is coming! Armageddon is coming! The problem is, worldwide earthquakes are not increasing. Yes, there are peaks, and after every peak, a pastor may point out that the end is near. But then those peaks are followed by below average activity. How many decades can you cry wolf before people stop listening to you? 3 of the top 10 strongest earthquakes ever recorded occurred in 2010, 2011, and 2012. Clearly, these earth movers at the start of the decade would seem troubling and alarming. But the 2 strongest earthquakes ever recorded occurred in 1960 and 1964, and number 8 on the list occurred in 1965. Did we ring the bell then? Yes, likely. And then we waited, and then we waited, and then we waited. Meanwhile, people start to lose faith in the message we're proclaiming. Another earthquake or another tsunami may occur. We will shout the end is near from the rooftops, and then we will wait again. When the end is here, trust me, we will know without question. Plagues. Many have asked if COVID-19 plays into end times Bible prophecy, and thankfully, many pastors have said it does not. Perhaps because of right now, the Wuhan virus has killed less people in the United States than the flu does on an annual basis. Should we be wary of pandemics? Of course, but we must also realize that the worst pandemics in history have been separated often by hundreds of years. Perhaps, at least with diseases, religious leaders have learned not to sound the death knell too soon. Wars and rumors of wars. Has there ever been a prolonged period of time when there was no war? No, and nor will there be until Christ returns. In fact, one of the signs of the end will be when there is no war, specifically in the Middle East, during the first half of the tribulation, which will last roughly 3.5 years. During World War I, people likely thought the end was near, and perhaps more so during World War II. As we built up our nuclear stockpiles during the Cold War and marked our ability to destroy the earth many times over, we thought, surely Jesus will return soon. But then the Cold War ended, and here we wait. I recall the question raised of whether ISIS was mentioned in Revelation. Every other generation appears to forget the horrors that previous generations faced. Horrors that are magnitudes greater than the present generation encounters. In Mark, Jesus said, And what I say to you, I say to all, be on the alert. Listen, we can't start the doomsday clock every time there's a natural disaster, but there are specific signs for which we need to be looking for. Basically, everything that happens in Israel is of importance. For instance, the Jewish people returning to Israel and declaring their independence in 1948, after being scattered all around the world. That's prophecy fulfilled. But that was 70 years ago. What can we look for in the near future that might be the next rung on the ladder towards Christ's second coming? We need to look for the third Jewish temple. The first Jewish temple, constructed by King Solomon, stood in Jerusalem on what is called today the Temple Mount. Here is where the Ark of the Covenant, yes, that Ark of the Covenant, was kept. The temple was destroyed in 586 BC by the Babylonians. Years later, a second Jewish temple was built and completed around 515 BC, only to be destroyed once again hundreds of years later by the Romans in 70 AD. This destruction Jesus predicted. To put the destruction in context, this event was more cataclysmic to the Jews than 9/11 was to Americans. The Temple Mount is said to be the place where God commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. And so the place is not only holy to Jews, but to Christians alike. Stay with me, I will try to wrap this up quickly. In 1948, when Israel declared their independence, Jordan occupied the Temple Mount. But after the Six-Day War in 1967, Israel captured the Temple Mount. For decades, Jews have prayed to rebuild the temple, but there is one small problem. One of the most holy sites in all of Islam, the Dome of the Rock, rests on the very spot where it is believed that the first temple was built. According to Islamic scholars, the dome inhabits the spot where the Islamic prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. So not only is this location of great significance to the Jews and the Christians, but also to the Muslims. How does rebuilding the temple fit into Bible prophecy? Because in his Olivet Discourse, Jesus says that prior to his second coming, the Antichrist, described as the abomination of desolation, will stand in the temple. The great abomination is that this man of lawlessness, as he is described in Thessalonians, will establish himself as an idol for the world to worship, thus desecrating the holy temple. Now, do you see the problem with this plan? That's right. There is no temple in which this jerk can stand. And this means at some point, the temple must be rebuilt. Israel cannot tear down the Dome of the Rock, because not only is it holy to Muslims, it has historical significance for many other cultures who used it in past centuries. Some have suggested relocating it. But seriously, how well do you think that's going to fly with the Muslims? Perhaps it is destroyed in a terrorist attack or an earthquake. Whatever occurs, look for the temple to be rebuilt. And when that happens, you should know for sure that we are in the final act. Anyway, thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope that history lesson didn't bore you. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up or share it with a friend. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if there's anything I got wrong, please don't hesitate to put it in the comments below, but be gentle. As always, guys, we love you. Have a blessed week.